Fun to have fun and laugh. Yeah, basically saying it's better that we're friends as opposed to fighting.
Okay, cool. I'm down. Hey, this guy's great. Do you know who this guy is?
Yes, actually, I gave my lost interest verbal and written permission to use any of my clips, so he doesn't have to worry about any type of copyright.
I just
But
remember.
basically what he does is rip off our stuff and post it on his thing. But he does it in a great way. But I would never copyright strike that. So yeah, he does a great job. In fact, I'm subscribed to My Lost Interest and I watch the clips that he puts out there. He does a great job with it.
Yeah, he does. He goes.
But I don't. Are there height requirements at a strip club? I don't know. I probably wouldn't meet him though.
Dude, there's one thing I love about the people that come on here. I think that we all know that you're gonna get your balls broken if you come on here. You are gonna get made fun of. We don't like. At the beginning, I didn't really know because at Howard, there were things you would say, "Hey, I don't want this on the air," and that usually had to do with family and stuff like that. But I think people pretty much know if you come on here, you're gonna get your balls broken if you're gonna be a part of this.
Yeah, and it should all be in good fun. Casey, I've only ran into one criminal since I've done all this. When I
Me?
started, besides you, like one real criminal. I said like the people that will have everyone has either one crime or 100 crimes, and like there's very few that have the 100, but those are the criminals. You got to be careful. There was that guy that High Pitch hooked up with, who was a full in 2017 when we were doing the live show. This guy came in and infiltrated High Pitch's life. He did pay for him to move out of the flop house that he was living, but it turns out the guy was stealing money, like millions of dollars. And yeah, he was harassing the fuck out of me. I posted my social security number on Twitter. Back then, you couldn't get it off.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so he's in prison now for like 9 years. He's got probably like 7 left on his sentence.
Are you counting down the
No, I
days?
don't care. I was never physically fearful of him, but he's
No, no,
he's a,
I know not physically, but if a guy's
yeah.
fucking putting your shit out there like that, I mean, that's not somebody that you want to come out out of jail. You got a family, for God's sakes.
Yeah, no, that's he was in Chicago. I'm sure he's not sitting in prison and just sitting there trying to plot a revenge. It wasn't really me. His theft was the biggest thing, and that was separate to what he was doing. But the point is that when you get into those types of people and you have to identify them, there's one thing for us to bust balls and for me to say that you look a little bit like that African guy. So I thought maybe you were related and maybe your mom had an affair. Like you couldn't take that initially, right? But now that I'm saying it, like there's no harm in that, right? There's no crime in it. This guy was a criminal, Casey, like trying to get Eric's information, opening up accounts on the people's names. Like this is like someone who does and have any sense of the criminal law.
Gotcha. Yeah, he doesn't care who he hurt. He's
Yeah.
just bad news, right? He wouldn't even feel bad about taking all your information and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was weird. Like when we went back through his history, ever since like he was 17, if he was first arrested for stealing at Blockbuster, then by 20 he was stealing from another person, and 25 is the same repeated behavior over and over again, and this is where he ended up. So I think though most people here in the Dabbleverse will go up to the line, but they're not criminals that will take it to the next level. So fear not for most of the time. Fear not that your name is out there or your address is out there, God forbid.
Yeah, but is that go ahead.
Do you remember that big doxing book they would send around on Long Island? Like
No, what's that?
once a year, they'd have the doc. I don't know if you would get it though. Only a few special people got it. It was this big book, and it had everyone's name and their address in it, and you can like look it up in alphabetical order.
It's this bullshit things. Or
No, it's called the telephone book, and it had everyone's name. You never got one of those big things?
I can tell you how to rip one.
Yeah, right. Feats of strength. But point is, like, everyone's so afraid about their name. Fine, that's okay, but then don't come on here, right? Like, don't put yourself out here on our level, because if you're not willing to do it, then you will end up trying to chase other people. Don't put that up there, trying to get it taken down. That's the negative part of this. It's not all positive.
But Vince, a lot of people don't know that, and I'm saying because I was one of them. I didn't expect that like stuff like that could happen. But when you come on here, all bets are off. You gotta understand that you are putting yourself out there, and there's no going back.
Yeah, a lot of times, Casey, I'll say, "Oh, I even give out my address," and my wife hates that. But I do it, and then I have nothing to fear. Like, oh, someone put out my address. Oh, here's my address. I don't care.
Yeah, but
So
you're a
we got,
lawyer, Vince. You're smarter. You know how this shit works.
yeah, but still, I mean, there's obviously a risk to it. But I'm not giving it to, hopefully not to criminals. But like, it just doesn't bother me. The point is, like, when I talk to Phil and I say it to even Shuli, because I was with Shuli when he first started. He had maybe 1,000 subscribers, maybe less. You can't block anyone for any reason. That was a theme. Obviously, there's some exceptions, but for the most part. So if you look at Phil's show, and Phil's a perfect example, he started to get popular, but then he started to block people. He started to take offense to just like fun jokes. Like I played an old show where I super chatted in as Phil's treadmill, right? And on the treadmill was clothes. I mean, like it's funny. And actually, Phil reacted nicely to it. And then I super chatted in as Phil's stroke and I asked him if he was available next Monday at 7 p.m. And he took it kind of in stride.
You just being a dick. You just being a
Yeah,
dick.
but you
That's
know,
what
like,
we do here.
and he was getting paid for it, and it was fun, and like there's no crime in that. You know, it was fun, but towards the end, Casey, his true colors came out. Not that he's a bad person, but he was just too thin-skinned for this atmosphere.
What do you think drove him off? Do you think that he felt that his privacy was kind of endangered or put out at risk?
It's a great question because he's been on the internet for 10 years. People have been making weird claims against him, and he's been
He's
able
written
to.
books. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's been able to handle that. So that's why I don't believe that it was me necessarily. Maybe it was just that this is intense. This level every day dealing with myself, everyone else in the Dabbleverse. You know, it's intense. So if you don't have a good personality where you can take a joke, then it's going to be tough.
Yeah, I got to tell you, man, it's weird because look, I come from, I don't want to sound like John here, but from FM radio, and I was called gay every day, and I got my balls busted every day. But when I first got here, there were things that I didn't experience, and that made me angry more than on the number one radio show of all time. Does that make any sense?
It does on some level because I mean people don't recognize the fact that you were so much popular in every one of these Dabbleverse combined, right? Like you were exposed to 10 million people in a morning show.
Right.
Any douchebag with a computer and an internet connection can now broadcast.
Yeah.
And now you're put down below them, even though you've been exposed and are so much more popular than them. So that's the thing that you got to keep working on. You're doing a great job now. I mean, like now you're getting your groove on it. It's nice to see.
I'm learning it. Yeah, Vince. I'm learning,
Yeah.
how it works. But yeah, I mean, it's weird. Like I guess when there's millions and millions of people that are goofing on you, it's less intrusive than a couple thousand. Does that make sense?
Totally, because when you're in that radio studio, it's a weird thing. There's no one looking at you.
Right,
You don't even
right.
really know who's listening or if anyone's listening. I know,
Right.
and not that I was on your level, but even just physically being there, you don't know what the hell is going on, just talking into a microphone. But here, everything is dissected the second you say it. You know, there's pages devoted to because the internet wasn't that big back then. It just wasn't really. Now it's very intrusive, so you got to be able to deal with that.
Yeah, good point. Good point, Vince.